Mr. Mayor, we're live.
All right, thank you. So today is February 7th, 2024. The time is 5:30 p.m. and I'm calling to order the Baldwin Park City Council special meeting. City Attorney.
Yes, Mayor. Before you start and the roll call, we did have a request from Councilmember Damian to participate in this meeting using teleconference means due to a medical emergency that doesn't allow him to participate in person. And so this is different than the provisions that we've used in the past. Last year, this one is using the medical emergency provisions. As I understand it, Councilmember Damian had a procedure done and he's not up to traveling in order to participate in person. And so in order to do that, the council must accept that request and take a vote. So the first thing we need to do is add it to the agenda. And that would be under the provisions of the Brown Act that allow us to add late breaking items. In this case, because there's a need to take immediate action in order to allow Councilmember Damian to participate via teleconference. And the need arose after the posting of the agenda, and that's because we were informed by Councilmember Damian, obviously after the agenda was posted last Friday, of his request to participate using the emergency provisions. So the first thing you would need to do is somebody would have to make a motion, entertain a motion to add the issue of Councilmember Damian's participation via teleconference means to the agenda.
I will make that motion. There a second?
Second.
All right. City Clerk, can you do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ayala,
Yes.
Mayor Estrada,
Yes.
motion carries 3-0.
Now that it's been added to the agenda, now you would need to entertain a motion to allow Councilmember Damian to participate via teleconference after invoking the emergency provisions. And Councilmember Damian, could I ask just briefly the facts that I stated regarding your request, are they correct?
That is correct. I had a surgical procedure done and I thought I would be there, be able to make it today, but I just couldn't. So that's why I'm teleconferencing.
So with that, it would be a motion to authorize the use of teleconference means for Councilmember Damian using the emergency provisions.
I'll make the motion. Any second?
Second.
City Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ayala,
Yes.
Mayor Estrada, motion carries 3-0.
Now we can have the meeting with Councilmember Damian participating. I just note that he should be kept on screen the entire time. And if the technology goes down at some point during the meeting, we will have to stop the meeting.
All right.
There's a way that we can keep him on screen the entire time. And then one more question, Councilmember Damian, is there anybody there with you that is over the age of 18 participating?
No, I'm by myself.
Thank you.
All right. So we'll go ahead and start off with a roll call. City Clerk, can I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Estrada,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ayala,
Here.
Councilmember Avila,
Councilmember Avila will not make the special meeting. She will be here for the 7 p.m.
thank you. Councilmember Garcia,
Here.
Councilmember Damian,
Here.
thank you, Mayor.
All right. Thank you for that, City Clerk. So at this moment, we will open up public communications. If anybody is looking to speak, now is your time. City Clerk, does anybody fill out a speaker card?
No, Mayor, at this time, we have not received a request for comment.
All right. If you didn't fill out a speaker card and you'd like to speak, now is your time. And seeing that nobody is looking to speak, I am going to go ahead and close public communication and we will continue with our open session. And we do have a presentation regarding Baldwin Park Sewer Rehabilitation Projects presented by Matthew Watson, Supervising Engineer from Los Angeles County Sanitation District.
Good evening. Thank you for that introduction. Again, my name is Matthew Watson, Supervising Engineer with the Los Angeles County Sanitation Districts. I want to thank the council and city staff for inviting me to give this presentation today. I'm here tonight to talk about a very important infrastructure project soon taking place in your beautiful community. I will be talking about a project that will rehabilitate a trunk sewer that has been providing your city with continuous sewer service for the past 70 years. Next slide, please. But first, allow me to introduce the Los Angeles County Sanitation Districts. Originally founded over 100 years ago in 1923, it is our mission to protect public health and the environment through innovative and cost-effective wastewater and solid waste management, and in doing so, convert waste into resources such as recycled water, energy, and recycled materials. Next slide, please. We operate an extensive wastewater collection and treatment system serving a total of 78 cities and unincorporated areas of Los Angeles County. This includes the 10 water reclamation plants you can see in the pink triangles, the Warren Water Resource Facility in Carson seen in the blue triangle, about 1,400 miles of trunk sewers seen as the blue lines, and an ocean outfall system offshore of the Palos Verdes Peninsula. Next slide. Now I want to bring the focus to our sewer system. We recognize that most of our sewer system was originally built more than 50 years ago, and addressing aging infrastructure is a paramount concern to us. We have developed a robust capital improvement plan to rehabilitate most of the district's sewers within the next 20 years, addressing the most critical areas first. On the next slide, you will see a video describing a technology we use for rehabilitating sewers. This technology, called cured in place pipe, is a liner that is installed without the need for excavation. This new liner essentially creates a new pipe within the old one. Next slide, please. You can play that video. Looks like we are missing the sound, but I will try to narrate the best I can. So essentially, this is a felt tube liner that is designed to the appropriate thickness, that is then inverted and installed through a manhole. You can see here, this is the felt liner being produced. It's impregnated with a resin liner and then inverted either through using air pressure or sliding through the pipe using the manhole for entrance and exit. Okay, and then the felt liner is then cured with using either hot water or steam. Okay. It's important to know that while this process is taking place, the sewer flow must be completely bypassed. A sewer service must also be interrupted for properties that connect to the pipe where it is being rehabbed. These will be short interruptions, and I'll go into that further later on in the presentation. Next slide, please. Now I will introduce the project team. With me here tonight, I have Joseph Marcos representing HDR, who is the engineer on the project. I also have Samer Soliman with IEM, who will be the construction manager, and David Bibian from Insituform Technologies, who is the contractor on the project. Next slide, please. This project will rehabilitate nearly 10,100 feet of existing concrete sewer with a cured-in-place pipe liner. It will also rehabilitate 38 manholes with a protective coating system. I'll show you a map on the next slide, but about 307 households, 30 businesses, and 3 schools lie along the project route. This includes Sierra Vista Junior High School, Sierra Vista High School, and Kenmore Elementary School. Rehabilitation was selected because replacing the sewer via open trench construction would be much more disruptive and costly. Total project cost came in at about $2.6 million. Next slide, please. On this slide, you can see the project route represented by the red line. In Baldwin Park, the project will begin on Ramona Parkway, traveling west to Foster Avenue, then turns on Foster Avenue to Fraser Street, then turns southeast on Fraser Street to Emory Avenue. The project then continues with an additional segment on Fraser Street from Fairgrove to Garvey. Next slide, please. So construction activities will begin in earnest this month in February. Businesses and residents will be notified first, then preliminary activities will begin, including manhole rehabilitation and preparing for the pipeliner. In March, temporary service interruptions will begin in 5 phases. This will allow the contractor to implement flow bypass and perform the CIPP lining. Project completion is scheduled for late June 2024. On the next few slides, I will show photos from other similar projects that illustrate what the typical work setups will look like. Next slide, please. These photos show what a typical setup looks like for CIPP lining operations. You can expect to see several work trucks, trailers, and a refrigerated box truck set up around a sewer manhole. The lining work for each reach of pipe from one manhole to the next is completed typically within 1 day. So these setups will be temporary and will move along the project route as work is completed. Next slide. Here you can see a typical setup of bypass pumps that remove flow from the sewer to convey through above ground bypass pipes. Something to note in this picture is that we do require complete system redundancy, which is why you see 2 pumps and 2 bypass pipes. So even though 1 pump and 1 pipe can handle all the flow, we require redundancy for safety. Next slide, please. Here you can see the bypass pipes are routed through a shallow trench covered by traffic plates which allow the traffic to move through the intersection safely. Next slide, please. Here you can see bypass pipes routed through the center of the street, allowing traffic to move in both directions safely while only closing the middle lane. Next slide, please. Here you can see where bypass piping is routed through a shallow trench to keep traffic disruptions minimal. Next slide, please. Here you can see where bypass piping is routed through a drive-over ramp. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned before, sewer service will need to be temporarily interrupted for some residents while the work is taking place. The interruption should only be about 8 to 9 hours, and the contractor will provide portable facilities with hand washing stations upon request. Here you can see an example of what the portable facilities look like, and the contractor will work with residents for delivery and placement of these units. Next slide, please. Okay, so for businesses and critical facilities where sewer service cannot be interrupted, such as schools, the contractor will provide continuous flow bypass through an existing sewer cleanout. And if an existing cleanout is not available, the contractor will install a temporary cleanout to facilitate the continuous bypass. Next slide, please. So if you remember, I mentioned also the manholes will be rehabilitated with a protective coating. So here you can see the typical setup for manhole rehab. This involves a small work area on the street and a few work trucks. You can also see this gentleman applying the protective coating to the inside of the manhole shaft. Next slide, please. So in terms of community outreach, residents will be notified via doorknob hanger once at 14 days before the work, another time at 7 days, and finally a third notice will be posted 24 hours before work begins on their street. The typical sewer service interruption will take approximately 8 to 9 hours from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. And you can see the approximate schedule of activities here on the slide. Residents should refrain from discharging large quantities of water down their drains while the work is being done. And as I mentioned before, portable facilities will be made available. Next slide, please. So here you can see the project flyer, which we produce both in English and Spanish, and that will be distributed to residents. I highlighted in the red boxes at the bottom the project contact, who is the construction manager, Samer Soliman, for any questions about the project. And there is also a 24-hour emergency number for any after-hours concerns. And next slide. Okay. So once again, I want to thank the City of Baldwin Park for hosting this presentation, where I could provide more information about this important project to address aging infrastructure. We would be happy to take any questions you may have while I've got the whole team here today. Well, thank you.
Great, thank you for that presentation. Just probably the more important question, I know you're doing the English and Spanish flyers, and then are you going to plan any maybe community meetings in the area just so that people can kind of gather and get their questions answered in person?
We don't have any community meetings planned at the moment.
I think that's something we can set up, maybe at one of the There's a couple of school facilities in sight, just because sometimes people don't get the flyers. We just want to make sure that we're doing our part to get to as many people as possible.
Yeah, there's also an electronic. Yeah, if we'd be happy to take that suggestion. We could set up a community meeting.
So at this moment, if any of my colleagues on the council or staff have any questions or comments, now is your time.
I do have one question here.
Yes, Councilmember Damian.
Yeah, I heard you say that upon request, the portable facilities would be available to the residents. Will the residents be informed of this? Letting them know that they would need to request this in order for them to be provided with the portable facilities?
Yeah, can I bring David up to answer that question? He's the contractor. Yeah, can you repeat the question one more time?
Yes, of course. You mentioned that upon request, the residents would be able to have the portable facilities. Would they be notified of these portable facilities before the work starts so that they can request it?
They do not need to request it. It's a part of our execution every day when we start. Before we start, the portable facilities will be at the site.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions or comments from?
One question for you, Matthew. In one of the slides, you had the normal shift would be 7 a.m. till 5 p.m., I believe.
4 p.m. I think is
4 p.m. Might there be circumstances under which you would work through the night?
there might be. David, did you want?
Just stay up there.
This is David Bibian with In Situ Form. The typical installation takes about 8 hours. And we anticipate this would be the case. One of the specifications of this particular installation is once it's started, it needs to continue to be installed, to be cured, and to be, and at the end, all the connections to residents and houses to be opened. So because of that, this is something that if it happens, we need the understanding of the community to
Yeah.
be patient.
In other words, what you begin that day, you shall finish
That's correct.
in that continuum.
That's correct. Once we start, we stay there until it's finished and the access and lines to each residence and to each business is opened.
Will be reconnected.
Another indication is we need to stay away working in the vicinity of 1,000 feet of schools while children are present. So if we are at those locations, we would either perform the work, we start performing the work when the school is out at the end of the day, or we have to do it over the weekend.
On the weekend.
I have a quick question, to add on to what you just said about the schools. You're talking about regular hours because we have extended programs, at the school sites. So you're not allowed to work during that time either?
The regulation says, while children are present. So
One of the programs you'll go to is 6 o'clock.
we will coordinate with schools. We'll contact them. We'll let them know we are working in the vicinity, and we'll ask them when it's convenient or when it's possible to schedule our work. So we will coordinate with the schools.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
No more questions or concerns from staff or council. Thank you for your time and thank you for being patient. We had a little bit of delay, so we appreciate it and we look forward to the project. And I'm sure our residents will benefit from it greatly. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. So at this moment, we are officially done with open session, study session, and we will recess to closed session, and we will see everybody at the 7 o'clock regular meeting.